स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So in the fourth chapter, we in the last class started the section where we find that the concept of yajna has been elaborated from the 24th to the 33rd sloka. We were studying the 24th sloka in the last class. The basic idea with which we started the class is that the ultimate reality, when finds expression as this phenomenal world, finds expression as Shakti, as energy. All sorts of work is an expression of that energy. And that energy again finds expression through some laws. As we told that the vachakas, which indicates these three aspects of the reality. What are the three vachakas? Om, Rim, Ritam. The ultimate reality with all the potentiality hidden in it, which is yet to find expression, is being represented as the Om, which finds expression as Shakti, as energy in this phenomenal universe, whose Vachak is Rim, and that energy which finds expression through certain laws is the Rhythm, that laws. That's why Rhythm is called the truth. What is truth? Truth is something which can never be broken. The truth is something absolute. You can never contradict it. So rhythm is something absolute. Those laws are something which are very definitive. We can never break them. And in the physical world, the laws we find expression as the laws of gravitation, the laws of electromagnetism, all those physical laws are expression of that rhythm. And in this living being, especially as a human being, the same rhythm finds expression as the moral laws. And what's the basic moral law which finds expression through all the activities which we find in this, our human civilization, is yajna, the idea of interdependence. Constantly there is a interaction, interbeing in this living world. I give something, in return I get something. So that's the basic idea. So if I can see the ultimate reality in all the actions as well as in all the laws, my life becomes an unceasing worship. Because it is a fact of life. It is the ultimate reality which is projected as the Shakti and again as the laws. So whatever I am doing, through which if I can be aware, I am aware of the fact that it is the Brahman and the Brahman alone. The word Brahman came for the Brih Dhatu, Brihat. That behind this microcosm, behind each and every activities, which is appearing to be something limited within the body-mind complex, the one which is Brihat, without any dimensions, beyond all the physical and our psychophysical limitations, it is beyond all that. It's Brihat, which has no ego boundaries, no ego barriers, which is non-dual, which is the ultimate reality. That is finding expression through all these various psychophysical entities. I become aware of that, know it for fact that alone exists. Everything else, as in the Bhakti Shastra they speak of Leela. It is just the expression, it's a divine sport. So through everything I see the divine and divine alone. Then my life becomes an unceasing worship. And that's the sloka which we studied in elaborate details in the last class, the famous 24th sloka of the 4th chapter, which we chant every day before we take our food. This is the Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. Arpanam, the act of offering is Brahman, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, the oblations, the things which are offered, the oblations, that is Brahman. Brahmagnau, the fire, that is Brahman. The fire of the sacrifice in which you are offering the oblations, that is Brahman. Brahmana ahutam. So this ahuti, the process of offering, that is also Brahman. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. So it is a Brahman alone which is again being merging in Brahman. The one who can see this sees Brahman in all his actions. So that was the basic idea behind that mantra. So it is actually the way of deification. That, as we were saying, that nothing remains secular, everything has become spiritual. There remains no more watertight compartment between secular and spiritual. As we were indicating in the last class, that in our day-to-day life, we constantly go on making division between the secular and the spiritual. That certain activity speaks of my spirituality, worship, meditation, doing some rituals, these are all spiritual. And then I start my day-to-day work, my family work, my work in the office, going to school. All these are considered as secular. So here we find that the idea of yajna has been extended to such an extent where no secular work remains. You just change your orientation. It's not you changing the pattern of your life. You need not have to renounce your day-to-day activities and just resort to some other type of life to be spiritual. What you are doing through all your activities, if you change your orientation, that it is the divine which is working through this phenomenal existence to ultimately again merge in the divine, is the famous Shanti mantra. That's Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavashishyate. This is the same idea has been spoken of here. That what's the Upanishad speaks? Purnamada Purnamidam. That is full, this is full. Purnamada Purnamidam. Purnat Purnamudachyate. From that Purna, from that fullness, this fullness has emanated, has come. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. And when this fullness again merges in that fullness, what remains is alone, fullness alone. So sometimes we will find that in Zen Buddhism, they use something called koan, some poems, some verses, which apparently is very queer, as if it has no meaning. But if you reflect on it, go on cogitating upon it, suddenly a flash of wisdom will come to you. So these mantras are also like that. Actually, the word mantra means mananath trayate iti mantra. Mananath. If you go on cogitating upon it, go on thinking upon it, trayate, mananath. If you go on thinking, mananath means to go on thinking on it, trayate. It will liberate you. Suddenly, a flash of wisdom will come. Now, if you just take this idea in general, that Purnamada, that is full, this is full. Suppose a cup is full of water, and there is another cup which is full of water, this blue cup. So they say these both are full. Now, this Purna has came from this Purna. Now this becomes very something, beyond our comprehension. So I know that from 1 cup of water, if I pour this cup into this cup, then this cup, as it is already full, it will spill over, isn't it? But they're saying no. From this fullness came, but when you have poured, still it is full. If I pour a cup of water into another pot, then this becomes empty, this becomes full. How can both be full? So that's the Upanishad's mantra. This is a very interesting mantra. This Purnat Purna Mudachyate. This Purna, from that Purna, this Purna has came. How is it possible? Only you can explain it with Adhyasavada. Otherwise you cannot explain. What is Adhyasavada? That it is not really something is getting transformed. It is not that the God has become the world. It's not like that. It is a projection. In the Upanishads, we give that example again and again. Suppose a rope is lying on the ground, and in the twilight hours, because of insufficient light, you see the rope as snake. You deal it as a snake. Now, the snake which you are seeing for the time being because of ignorance, from where it came? From that rope. The rope is still existing. It is not that the rope has got converted into snake. Has it got converted? It has not got converted. The rope is still there. But at the same time, when you are seeing the snake, you don't see the rope. So now the Upanishad is saying this snake, if you take it as a full entity, as a complete entity, from where it came? From that fullness. The rope is still full. It has not converted. You have not poured something from one container to another container. When you are being deluded in seeing the snake as the rope, as long as you see this snake, you don't see the rope, but the rope do exist. It is still there. When my ignorance vanishes, the snake is no more there. Where it has went? It has again went back to the rope, isn't it? It has merged with the rope. It is the rope alone which exists because of ignorance. For the time being, I am seeing the snake. When the ignorance vanishes, again it merges in the rope. So now you will understand that the Upanishad is speaking of adhyasa, superimposition. That because of ignorance, the Brahman is appearing as this world of action and the laws and everything. It is actually not there. That's why when Swami Vivekananda was speaking of Vedanta in the West, he told everything is Brahman. And some lady got up and told Swamiji, it's a very nice way of hypnotizing. And then Swamiji told, no, madam, you are already hypnotized. What I am doing is de-hypnotizing you. That here also the Upanishad is doing the same thing. It is de-hypnotizing us. The Gita mantra is also de-hypnotizing us. I don't see Brahman in all the activities. I don't see. But here comes the importance of the scriptures. They say that all the illumined souls have went beyond this ignorance. They came to know that it is Brahman alone because of ignorance. The moment the mind, the senses come into picture, the consciousness through the mind and the senses is appearing as this world of divergent phenomenal existence. But it is the Brahman alone. It is Brahman alone. It is not this world of name and form. So if I conduct my life in such a way that I am not dealing with this world of name and form as a tangible reality, but I try to see the ultimate reality through and through this world of phenomenal existence, this will gradually result in chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind, and then the realization will dawn in my life. So that's the process of de-superimposition. So this, I'm already hypnotized, this is a process of de-hypnotizing. So this Brahmarpana mantra is also a mantra for de-hypnotizing. That whatever you are doing in this world, whatever I'm doing is actually is a process of interaction. Whatever I'm doing. My job is an interaction. I am working, I am giving my labor to get something back. The student is studying, again for the same thing. He is sacrificing his so-called small pleasures of life to get something in return. In this entire life is give and take. You have to sacrifice something to get something. So this entire process of this sacrifice, this give and take, is yajna. Because in yajna also the basic idea is give and take. I offer an oblation in the fire with the expectation that devas, for whom this fire is the mouth, The oblations are being carried to the devas through this fire, and they will offer in bounty all the boons to me. This is the basic idea. That has been extended in Gita to the idea that yajna is everywhere. It's not only in the fire sacrifice. Then the entire world is being guided by this yajna, this interdependence, give and take. As we told, that there's nothing exists in this world as a segregation. When Mother Yashoda tries to get out that soil which Krishna, the baby Krishna, has eaten, has put it in his mouth. You know, the babies, the children always have the habit to put everything on their mouth. So the Krishna put some lump of clay on his mouth, and the Mother Yashoda, in her attempt to get rid of that soil, to bring out that soil, presses the cheek of baby Krishna. And then the mouth opens, and what she sees is the entire creation. It's not just a lump of clay. How is it that she sees the entire creation? Is it something mysterious? Actually, we don't have the eyes of Yashoda. If we have the eyes of Yashoda, we can also see the entire existence in the lump of clay. So where this soil, where soil is formed, you go to the center of Australia where it's all desert, you won't find soil. It's all sand. For the soil to form, you need the decomposition of organic matter. There must have been some trees, some living animals which has died and decomposed, and in the process of time, this got converted into soil. It is a decomposed living organism. The soil is this matter. So where the soil is, there must have been some living plant, living other organism. Where the plant is, the sun must be there. Otherwise, I cannot think of plant. The atmosphere must be there. And the plant in which, where it has been, it has grown. There, all the nutrients were there on the ground. Without the nutrients, I can never think of the plant to grow. Water was there, nutrients were there. And the nutrients speaks of minerals. Not a single mineral has been created on this earth. These are all star dust. So you see the entire phenomenal existence. Stars, galaxies, the sun. Everything is there in that lump of soil. There's some tree was there, which the tree was there, the sun was there, the atmosphere was there, the farmer's labor was there. Everything comes in that lump of soil. So it is a the existence is interbeing, everything is related. So, and that's the idea of basic yajna. This constant interaction is going on of give and take. If you can see that, the working of the ultimate reality as this working principle, then you are never deluded by this world of name and form. You always remain established in that ultimate reality. And through this process of dehypnotization, at last, again you become one with Brahman. So that was the basic idea on the 24th mantra. So now we will proceed to the next mantra, the 25th mantra. This so now we will, from the 25th to the 33rd slokas, we will find that varied types of yajnas has been spoken of. It's not only just the fire sacrifice. That yajna, we told, is a give and take. There are two ways of give and take. That one is, I know that Mother Nature is there outside. I have to give to the nature, as we have seen in the 3rd chapter. What was the idea? There we saw the yajna has been spoken of as that the rains come from yajna. And we told that it is not, so nowadays also many will be doing yajna to get rains. It's not in that physical sense that your idea of getting rain from yajna has been mentioned. Even in the nature, if you go to the forest, yajna is going on. That what is the yajna? The trees will be, they call that's not evaporation. It is called transpiration. From the leaves of the plant, the water is evaporating. You will be amazed to know that the 2/3 of the earth's surface is water, but the evaporation which happens from the ocean is not responsible for the cloud. The majority of the cloud comes from the transpiration of the plants and the leaves. So that's why you will find if plants are not there, we will have drought. There won't be any rain. So plant plays a huge role in maintaining the ecosystem. So just yajna is going on. From the ground, the water is being, like just like the fire. When you offer oblations to the fire takes the oblations to the devas. Here also, it is the plants through the process of transpiration is becoming cloud. Again from the cloud the rains are coming, and through this cycle, this yajna chakra, the life is being sustained. So we have to take part in that yajna. So if you take this in this broad sense, then a wonderful idea will come out from Bhagavad Gita. Again the same thing, that our religious life is not something secluded from our day-to-day dealings. That how we are dealing with the mother nature and with a sense of yajna, that speaks of our sustenance. So that was the basic idea of yajna in the 3rd chapter. In the 4th chapter, they say yajna need not be an interaction with the nature. It's a constant struggle to get rid, to sacrifice our lower nature so that we get established in our higher nature. That also is give and take. That I renounce something trivial to get something which is having much more importance, which is having much more value. I am renouncing some short-term gains for getting some long-term gains. That's the basic idea of yajna, which we will find will be mentioned from the 25th to the 33rd slokas. So let's proceed to the 25th sloka. What it is saying of the 4th chapter. Daivam eva pare yajnam yogina paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajnam yajye naivopajuhati. Daivam eva apare yajnam. So there are as we told, there can be varied types of sacrifices. What is the sacrifice is saying? Sacrifice to the gods alone, which the karma kandis, those who believed in the karma kand of the Vedas, that through yajna we can get all the desired objects, like putrishti yajna. Those who have no son, through the desire for getting son, they used to do yajna. For getting kingdom, they used to do yajna. So there were so many, based on our desires, there were some yajnas. So here, first they start with that, because that was the basic idea of yajna. Daivam eva apare yajnam yogina paryu. So here the yogi is the karma yogi. The karma kandis are the yogis. Paryupasate. Brahmagnava pare yajnam yajye naivopajuvati. So first is just in the first type of yajna, it is very, because it is very crude. It is a very initial stage of yajna, where world is the end. You don't want God. God is just the means. Just for most of us, the yajna is like that. We go to the temple. If you go to the temple and you can give a ear to all the prayers. So you find 99% prayers are what? That my son is yet to get a good job. Oh Lord, please see that he gets a job. My children may get married. May I have some wealth. May I have a good job. So it's all desires which has to do with this world. God is just the means. I don't want God. God is just the means. World is the end. So there are so many funny stories that one elderly lady, after cutting, she was a poor wood cutter. After cutting the wood, made a huge bundle, and she couldn't carry it. She was so frustrated with life that she called on God. Oh God, please deliver me. I don't want to live anymore. This life so full of suffering. After selling this much of this firewood, I will get just little few pence, and that also I cannot carry. So she was complaining, and God came before her. And now God asked, well, what do you want? So just now she was asking for deliverance. She wanted to die. And now she told, oh God, can you please help me to just carry this wood for me? So God becomes just the mean. Now, the moment God comes, now she forgets about deliverance. She wants to live. That was just, a mere word. It never had any has such feeling behind it. The real thing is, I want to live. If even God comes, I don't want to be with God. I want this world. I want to go to the market and sell, go to the marketplace and sell those firewood. Let God only help me in carrying those wood. So God becomes just the means. World becomes the end. It is a sheer materialism, but still it is good. Why it is good? Even in Gita, in the later chapter we will come, that even to fulfill your desire, you call on God. The basic idea is you have faith in God. For most of us, if I want a job, I will go to some influential person. But if someone feels like calling to God, that speaks he has developed little faith. That apart from this world, there is some entity who can help me. So that faith has developed. So that way it is also good. It is not bad. Though it is something very, very rudimentary, it is just the primary level of your spiritual education, but still it is good, it is not bad. Even for your desire, you can ask, if you are calling on God, that also has been termed as bhakti. It is also bhakti. Though we have to outgrow it, because it is just the kindergarten. So here it starts with that kindergarten, that there are people who, for their worldly desire, do this yajna. So they also has been included in this, this gamut of yajna. That's the first thing they are saying. As we already studied in this 11th sloka of this chapter, ye yatha mang prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham. That in whatever way people call on me, I appear to them in that form. If they just want some desires to be fulfilled, I come as the one to fulfill their desire. If they want me, I do appear them before the devotee as the one who can deliver them from this world of transmigration. So whatever you desire, I am available in that form. So here also Bhagavan is saying, yes, that type of yajna is also acceptable. It's not bad. Though it is rudimentary, it's okay. So that's the first thing with which he starts. Daivam eva apare yajna. And the very next thing he says what? But the same yajna, when you evolve spiritually, now I cannot simply renounce the way of my life. The yajna can still continue, but my orientation have changed. That I go on doing all the activities of my life with the idea, seek not, avoid not. I am not ambitious, I want this, I want that. At the same time, I don't avoid. Why? Because already some past karma has resulted in this birth. The force of prarabdha is working through me. I suddenly cannot stop it. So let it go on. But I disidentify myself from the psychophysical existence, knowing well it is just on a flow because of its past momentum. I am separate from it. And then I just see that whatever activities are going on is, after all, is a projection of the divine and divine alone. It's not me who am the doer. It is the divine whose is this eternal divine play going on. There, where my idea of kartritva and bhoktritva, that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, that has fallen off. Then the same yajna can continue, but with a different orientation, and that becomes Brahma yajna, as we have studied in the last sloka. This Brahmarpana Brahma. So that is indicated in the second line. Brahmagna vapare yajnam yajna naivopajuvati. That some sacrifice, offer their oblations to Brahman and Brahman alone. So this is the mantra with which it starts. That for most of the people, yajna means God is the means, world is the end. But for those for whom the spiritual enlightenment or illumination has just initiated in their life, for them, God is the means, God is the end. To Brahma I am offering to attain Brahman. So that's the idea with which the yajna starts. So that's been spoken of in the 25th. So there's two categories. One is karmakandis and another is the jnana yogis. And then the 26th, it will speak of various stages of life. The brahmacharya, the garhastha, all the stages of life, and what are the specific yajnas for that stage of life. That will be spoken of in the 26th What is saying? Srotradinin indriyan anye. Sorry. Srotra adini indriya anye. Samyamagnishu jivati. Shabdadin vishayan anya indriyagnishu jivati. So this sometimes if you read the slokas, that's why these commentaries are very much important. Without resorting to the commentaries, sometimes these slokas, to find out the meaning becomes very difficult. What it is saying, that some others offer the ear and other senses as sacrifice in the fire of self-control. So it actually becomes ambiguous. What it means, in the fire of self-control, you are offering the senses of perception, your eyes and ears. It's speaking of the stage of brahmacharya. See, for the student, just take the student's life. He is supposed or she is supposed to concentrate on his or her studies. So he has to renounce the distractions of life, the other distractions. That's why in our scriptures it is said, Chhatranam Adhyayanam Tapa. The study itself is a tapas for the student. He has to renounce the small desires to get focused in his studies. So what he is doing? He is also doing a sacrifice, where this indriyas are the things of offering. They are the oblations. All the senses are the operation. You are as if offering it to the fire called self-control. It is the idea of delaying your gratification. As we go on saying, even in the modern psychology, they have accepted this as the only criteria for our integrated growth of personality. The experiment, the marshmallow experiment, so many times we quote that. What it speaks of? The delaying of gratification. That most of the people think that it is the IQ, the intelligence of the child, which determines his future. No. Even in modern psychology, they say more important than the IQ is the faculty of delaying your gratification. Suppose that if you lure a child with something, say a marshmallow, and then you ask, and then you say, wait, don't take it immediately. Wait for 10 minutes. I will come back. And if you don't eat, I will give you the second one. We will find most of the children, though they know they are going to the second one after 10 minutes, they cannot wait. They are lured to take it. Only a few could somehow resist. The experiment doesn't end here. It has been found that those children who could resist after 10 years, after 15 years, it has been found they are more successful in life than others. And the reason is very simple. That those children who can delay their gratification, they can see the long-term gains waiting for them. They are not short-sighted. They don't get lured by their short-term gains. That's why they delay their gratification. This speaks of self-control. So in the fire of self-control, you are as if offering your senses. That's the stage of brahmacharya, when you are building up your life. Whether it's in the spiritual sense or in the sense of the householder, a brahmacharya life is something which is applicable to all the students. That for some long-term gains, I renounce something trivial. So that's the idea in this spoken of in this Srotra Dinindriyanyanye Sanyamagnishu Jivati. So in the fire of Sanyama, in the fire of self-control, I am offering my senses, so that I can remain fixed to my goal. But the second line speaks of the grihastha. What is he saying? Shabdadin vishayanyanya indriyagnishu jivati. Now it is just the opposite. They say all the objects of the sense of perception, like rupa, rasha, shabda, gandha, sparsha, this thing of beauty, the thing which I hear, the thing of touch, the object of touch, smell, all this I offer it to the indriyas itself. Means it speaks of bhoga. It speaks of bhoga. Actually, but at the same time, has been called as yajna. What's the idea? That as a householder, of course, that your purushartha is now not what you say, this artha and kama. Dharma, as a brahmachari, you were practicing dharma, how to integrate your life. Now, artha and kama is your purushartha. I have to earn money. I do get engaged in the sensate pleasures of life in a legitimate way. Then how to have yajna? Should I get engrossed in it? I just dive headlong in it and just get engrossed? That becomes bhoga. But the same bhoga can become yajna. How? In our scriptures, this is spoken of a very nice idea. What's that? Atmavat deva sevanam. That bhoga can become worship. How? Suppose I like mangoes and it is the season for mango. I go to the market and see that the mango, the price is quite cheap. And I buy the entire crate and bring just to enjoy for myself, isn't it? That is greed. But what instead of doing that, I buy the same crate. But before I take, I have a small altar in my house, or I go to the shrine, the first fruit of the first season, first I offer it to the divine. And then I do have it. But now it has become prasadam, isn't it? The same greed now gets sublimated. But after offering, I will have it. All our worship is like that. You built a house, first you have that house warming ceremony. You say, God, it is your house. I am just one who is taking refuge. I am just the one who is staying there, but this house is yours. The idea is same. That if you just built your house and just enter there with the idea that I am going to enjoy my life here, it becomes bhoga. It is no more yajna. But you're offering it to the fire of senses in a different way. How? First I do it as a sense of sacrifice. Everything. Even during this marriage ceremony, Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel is indicating. You will always find that in the Hindu, in any part of India, for the Hindu wedding, something sharp will be in the head of the groom. Something sharp. In the Rajasthan and all, they will have sword, and in Bengal, they will have the beetle cutter. Something sharp they will have. What's the idea? The one with whom I'm getting married is not just a woman of flesh and bones. She is the manifestation of Shakti, the divine power. Just we say that everywhere we will find that the scriptures are always interpreted in such a wrong way. They say in our society it has been mentioned that the husband has to be treated like the one who is the Devata. It speaks of the male dominant society. No, it is actually mutual. Yes, the wife thinks of the husband as the Lord, and the groom is also thinking her as the manifestation of Shakti. That's why that sharp thing is there in the hand. With her help, I will cut the bondage of Maya. That's the idea. With her help, I will just see here also that all the so-called instead of going to the so-called the pleasures of life in the headlong way, first you do it as an offering. You see the divine in each and every being. And then everything becomes something sacred. The entire Tantra worship is actually that. That you offer, that even wine to the divine. What's the idea? That you cannot force everyone to renunciation. You cannot force. It is not a license that those who are not those who are leading a normal life, good life. The scripture never says that you also have to drink that alcohol. No. Those who are already highly addicted to it. So shall I say that religion is not for them? No. So religion has came down to their level. Okay. You have your addiction, no problem. First offer it to the divine. The certain form of divinity has been devised for them. To the divine you offer, then you have it. Then what happens? Even in their addiction, they're developing some sort of devotion. Even the Bali sacrifice. Nowadays, Hinduism has been branded as totally non-vegetarian and all those things. But so many beautiful things of the Hinduism we simply miss by branding. What's the idea? We cannot force. Again, the idea we cannot force renunciation to all. There are certain sections of life, people who cannot stay without having this non-veg food. To them there is a restriction. What's the restriction? Well, if you have to have this so-called non-veg food only on special days like Tuesdays and Saturdays. Those are the 2 days when you can offer sacrifice in front of the divine. See, already you're restricting. You cannot have every day. And that also on specific days, specific animals, not all type of animals. First you have to sacrifice, and then you have to take it as this sacred food, Mahaprasad. So, what happens, that's a very interesting thing. All those who profess, I will just give you a guarantee that you go to a place where they are professing this vegetarianism, that non-veg is not religion, and you ask them that to raise their hands, how many of them have not ever resorted to non-veg food? You will find this very nice picture. Very nice picture you will find. Very few hands will raise who can really say we have been purely vegetarian. Even if among them, a few will be hypocrites. Those who have taken non-veg food, still they will raise their hand that they have not taken. What happens? When you impose something on the society, you will get a band of hypocrites. In the Uttarakhand, there is a very common joke. One sadhu was found taking non-veg food hidingly. Another sadhu saw and was shocked and asked, "What are you doing?" And then the sadhu replies, "Chupa chupa ke kaun nahi khata hai?" Who doesn't eat hidingly? So you see what has happened? In the name of religion, you have created a band of hypocrites. You go to I myself have seen so many people, even here in Melbourne, when the Premier's Diwali party is there and the food is being served, being mentioned that the food do have onion and garlic. The so-called pretty people who say we never take onion and garlic, sitting in my presence, eating the food, same food. But they will, I won't name, but those are the very famous organizations. They're sitting in my presence, eating the food. What happens? You are resorting to hypocrisy. Why not just take the religion in that way, that okay, I am not up to it. I never say that non-vegetarian is the ideal. Vegetarianism is ideal. I am not up to it. Then is not religion for me? Yes, for you also it is there. How? Offer it to the divine and take it. All those basal impressions are getting sublimated. You're developing that divine, spiritual traits are growing in you. A time will come, renunciation will happen automatically. You can never force renunciation. You can never renounce anything. The thing should fall off naturally. That happens. So that was the idea behind this Shabdadin Vishayananya Indriyagnishu Jhuvati. It was Atmavat Devashavan. Whatever you like. That the idea which we were speaking of, we spoke of so many times. A brahmachari joined the order of the Ramakrishna order and he was asked to do puja. And he found that there's a use of all, they use a lot of, the scents, these perfumes during the puja. As a gandha, the perfume is used. You have to offer 16 items. One of the item is perfume. And now the brahmachari revolted by saying these are distractions. When I was at home, in my relative's wedding ceremony, people were having used this perfume, and when I sit for worship, it distracts me. It makes me think of all the social events. And then the brahmachari was told that, see, no one have forced you. If you like, you continue with the puja, or you have your own way. We have never forced you to this type of life. And now this brahmachari says a wonderful thing, that I continue. No one could give me the answer to my question, that why should we use all these things which distracts me. But as they insisted, I continued. After a few months, the thing has changed. What has changed? That now for the shopping of the puja items, he has a pujari. So for the shopping of the fruits and other things, he went to the marketplace and he was passing by the noisy street. and there happened to be a perfume shop. He says, now when I'm passing by that perfume shop in that noisy street, now the same fragrance, the same smell of the perfume, previously it was distracting me. 2 months back, it was when I was sitting for puja, it used to make me think of the social events. And now it's just the opposite. I'm in a noisy place, passing through the noisy street. Suddenly I find the calmness, because it now reminds me of the place of worship and my act of worship. So even in the noisy place, suddenly I find my mind has get calm. So this is the idea of sublimation. You need not have to force. You need not have to be a hypocrite. Accept where you are, and gradually you evolve. The one who doesn't have those desires, well and good. For them, they have not to, they're forced to do all those things. If you see the Durga Puja, it's wonderfully devised. The main pujari, he is supposed to be Sattvic, the main pujari. The one who is doing for the last 3-4 days, he will be doing Havishanya. Only at night after the puja, throughout the day he is fasting. At night he will take just only boiled vegetables with little ghee and cereal. Not cooked food with spices, no spices. Only little salt and ghee and all boiled food at night. Throughout the day he has fasted for 4 days. And he is doing constantly meditation, japa and worship. So that is the provision for the Sattvic one. And suddenly Sandhi Puja comes, and suddenly you find a band of people who were not visible anywhere. They come, now there will be some sacrifice, bali. And now suddenly you see them, they will wear vermilion and come, and lot of enthusiasm. And the pujari never does that. Pujari is not supposed to do that. It is meant for a different person. He will come and he will do the sacrifice. There. He goes. Just see. And now, again, there are very rich people. During the Sandhi Puja, there is a provision for offering all the riches to the deity. You will find they will form some, a huge dump of saris. So many have offered. Jewelries, everything. So the rich people who wants to show their devotion with the help of donating riches, there is a provision for them. If everyone gets somehow the chance to relate to the divine, no one is being forced. You relate to the divine in whatever way it's possible. And then again, there is a wonderful thing. After the Visarjan, everyone is allowed. The real Visarjan happens in the puja. The pujari, what they will do, they call it's in the Darpan Visarjan. In a mirror, the mirror placed within the water, you see the reflection of the mother in that, and with that, you just imagine that the mother, the real prana of the mother has been taken again back by the pujari. So now it's a dead body, it has been immersed in the water. It happens in the during the puja itself, in the altar itself it is being done. Now the image as such has no prana. But for all the common people, they don't know all those ideas. That it was the pujari's own prana with which the prana pratishtha was done, and it has been taken back. Now it is just like a dead body. But people don't know. They still feel it's after all mother, and they want to relate with it. So now all are allowed. They go, you will find, they will put some sindoor, the vermilion on the mouth, they will put sweets, insert sweets on the leaves. The entire image gets almost disfigured with all those things. And they are allowed to dance, use foul language, everything. So this is called, the Visarjan is like the tribals. The tribals, those who had the so-called, we think that there is no culture for them. We think that way. They like dancing and all. That is also allowed, if you are that crude. But through all those, you are somehow relating to the divine. And that way, you are also developing that devotion. So in the Tantra, the idea is, if the child doesn't have an idea of hygiene. Sometimes, to run away from the mother, it will go down the gutter, a very nasty place. It will go down and stand there, thinking that mother won't come here. But at last, the mother has to go down there to get the child, because she knows very well the child has no sense of this sanitation and all. So at last, I have to relinquish my net. So they say that if the son has gone down low, the mother has to come down to that level to get her up. And that's the entire idea, this beautiful idea of the Tantra. That mother is not tamas. They say Mother Kali is tamasic. No, she has become tamas just to get the child who is already fallen there from there to take her up. So this is the one, and these all parts of religions, we now in branding Hinduism leave it out. We say, oh, it's all pure vegetarian and all those things. It's a wonderful all-inclusive idea. Wonderful all-inclusive idea. And that's the idea. That how can the Indriyas becomes the fire of sacrifice. We say it's bhoga. No, it's not bhoga. When you're doing it with that orientation, I am after all offering it to the divine. And that way sanctifying it and sublimating my basal instincts to go to the higher, so that gradually I evolve into this higher and higher spiritual dimensions of my existence. So that's the idea is been spoken of in the second part of this sutra. This 27th, the next sloka, what is saying? Sarvan indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyama yogagnau juhati jnana deepite. Sarvan indriya karmani prana karmani chapare. So others offer the function of all organs and the pranas in the fire of yoga, of self-control. Atma Sangyama Yogagnu. Atma. So what it is speaking of? It's speaking of the Raja Yogis. Those who resort to meditation, that focusing of the mind, this yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. This Chitta Vritti is related to our feelings, to our thoughts, perceptions, everything. I am offering it in the fire of Sangyama. So here, the Raja Yogis, so those who are the meditative ones, they offer their organs of actions, organs of perception, the 5 pranas, this prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are the 5 ways our vital force works. Prana here, prana is divided into these 5 pranas. Prana means what? The subcategory for prana means the breathing. The category prana means all the vital forces, of which one of the subcategories again prana. That subcategory, that prana means breathing. Apana means all the process of cleansing the body, excretion. That's apana, downward motion, all the excretions to cleanse your body. Vyana. See, even in the Vedic time also the idea of anaerobic metabolism was there, without oxygen. So when you are stretching, you will find that you are not breathing, you stretch, that yawning. When you yawn, you will find that it happens when you are not breathing properly. When you were sleeping, your breathing was obstructed, you wake up and you do yawning. So it speaks of anaerobic metabolism. So that is Vyana. Udana is a very important thing. That at the time of death, this prana vayu do come up. You will find that that those who are about to die, they get that that constant upward thirst. It happens before they die. Those who are getting a normal death, you will find that. So that is called this udana. Udana is upward motion at the time of death. You know that the idea of Ichamrittu? Ichamrittu doesn't mean that when you want, you will die. It's not that. For most of us, when the time of death comes, we don't want to die. We are so attached to the body. At last, we are forced out. Just the way, to give a very crude example, there's apana. Apana speaks of excretion. So when you are having the nature's call, to certain extent it is voluntary. To certain extent. That you are having the nature's call, you can decide just to go now or 2 minutes later. Okay, you can decide that. But after some time, it becomes involuntary. When the force is too much, it becomes involuntary. You cannot resist anymore. So the same thing is with the udana, this udana vayu. For most of us, when we are meeting a natural death, not accident and all, we do come to know that we are going to leave our body. But we are so attached, we do not leave it voluntarily. It becomes involuntary. At last, just like that apana vayu, it is forced out. But those who have spiritually evolved, they do understand that it is a time to leave the body. What they will do, they will see some auspicious time. Like Bhishma, he had to die with so many arrows, he cannot live. He had to die, but he chose that at the end of the war, there's some auspicious time when that the northern solstice starts, the southern solstice is over, then he will. That is at a good moment. Even in the life of Ramakrishna, Swamiji, everywhere we find, they refer to the almanac. That what's the time? That when he says that Swamiji's, how can you say Swamiji had Ichha Mrityu? He had so many diseases, 32 disease. He died because of disease, and you say that he had that, what you say, that by his own will he's left his body. The idea is that yes, because of disease he's going to die, but they are choosing the time. It's not that they're forced out. At certain time, this idea is there called Arishta in the Yoga Sutra. That's the idea of this Udana Vayu. So this upward motion. They choose the time and do it voluntarily. A certain time span is there when you could do it voluntarily. Just like the Apana Vayu. Udana Vayu also can be left voluntarily. So they choose the time, auspicious time. They go in a prayerful mood and then they leave the body. Because they say the last thought decides the course of your next transmigration process. So they go to a meditative state in a very detached way, with a very prayerful mood, they leave the body. And for most of us, as we are attached to the body, we are almost forced out. The voluntary phase is over and involuntarily we are taken out. So Udana Vayu speaks of that upward motion which we all feel if we have a natural death. Something accident, when it is suddenly, then of course there is no chance of this Udana to feel that Udana Vayu. But for most of the natural death that is felt, and that has been spoken of as the Udana Vayu. And the Samana speaks of the assimilation. Whatever food you are taking, that again is getting converted into your vital energy through the process of metabolism, assimilation. That speaks of the Samana. So all this, they are practicing control. And through the process of meditation, Raja Yoga. So that he can resort to this Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So that has been spoken of as the Sarvanindriya Karmani, Prana Karmani Chapare, Atma Sangyama Yogagno. In the fire of Atma Sangyama, they are offering with the knowledge, Jnana Dipite, with the knowledge that I am the Atman, I am the Brahman. With that idea, they are offering. Constantly they are contemplating on the self, offering all the Chitta Vrittis to the fire of this self-control. So that's been spoken of in the 27th. The 28th, what it speaks? Now it speaks of the various types of yagyas. Dravya yagya, stapa yagya, yoga yagyas tathapare, swadhyaya jnana yagyascha, yataya shankshita prata. So there are others who do sacrifice through gifts, dravya yagya. There's all these that things which we give too much of importance. They are actually the grossest form of yajna. So dravya yajna. Even Gita will say the best dana is the jnana dana. Why? See, suppose someone is hungry. You give him food. You satisfy his hunger just for one day or one meal, nothing else. But if you can teach him agriculture, your hunger is gone forever. So the knowledge is of course a better way of offering than just giving some food or some clothing. I still remember in West Bengal, following almost the same tradition of Ramakrishna Mission, there is an Islamic organization, schools. It is called Al-Amin Mission. Al-Amin Mission. And they are also performing quite well. So the story of the foundation is very interesting. The founder of the Al-Amin Mission used to visit our Golpark Ramakrishna Mission regularly. We have a huge library there. He used to come there. And at that time, Lokeshwaranandaji was our secretary. He was the secretary of the Golpark Mission. So whenever he used to get chance, he will meet him, Lokeshwarananda. He used to come to the library and he used to meet him. And it was the time of that Ramzan, the month. And one day during conversation, Lokeshwarananda asked him that you collect so much of wealth. All the rich people, that they have the tradition of zakat, that a certain portion of their earning they save to donate it to the poor, zakat. So you collect so much of money. The rich people donate. With that, what you do? Well, yeah, on the Eid, all the poor people, we distribute clothes and food, anna and vastra. Well, that's very good. It's good. But, that's the wealth you collect. With that, you could have done so much of things. You could have started school, colleges. And this man really got inspired, the one who founded the almond. So he went and gave that idea to all the Maulavis. The Maulavis told it's impossible, because in our Quran it has been directly mentioned it is food and clothing. How can we just spend it for some other purpose? So he again went back and told to Swamiji, Maharaj, this is the thing that it has been mentioned in our scriptures. And then Swamiji told, very interesting, that after all you are giving the food and clothing. If you give education, with that education they will get established in life, and with that what they will do? They will earn their living, and that with this you are going to give their food and clothing for one day, they are going to get it throughout their life. This idea somehow that they found is very revealing, and this was accepted. And then, from this contribution, they gradually they converted into for this funding for the educational institutions, and now huge educational institutions have came up in Bengal. This is called Al Amin Mission, and even in West Bengal, the toppers came from that institution when I was there. They're doing really well. So that idea is this Jnana Yajna is much, much better than the Dravya. But it comes first, Dravya Yajna, the charity. Tapo Yajna, the penances, like fasting and all. So these are also Yajna. So the penances are also Yajna because it do help us to, to certain extent subjugate our lower nature and get established in the higher nature. But how the fasting helps, as we always say, that when you resort to fasting from the morning, you have started fasting, in the lunch time, you do feel hungry. But if you can resist it, a wonderful thing happens. What happens? So the pangs of hunger is a biological alarm system. When you have, to certain extent, you have, resisted yourself from taking food, after some time, the pangs of hunger subsides. The alarm system gets tired. So what's the use of constantly giving that alarm that you need food, you have to take food? You are not yielding to it. The alarm system for the time being falls back. It is tired, it falls back. Now you will find by the late evening, your body is light, you are not feeling the pangs of hunger. Now it becomes very easy to concentrate your mind. In the lunchtime, you were thinking that at the lunchtime you are so hungry. How with this mind, so agitated mind, with hunger and all, I can continue throughout the night with my worship. But those who fast, they know very well. They have to just patiently wait. The pangs of hunger is gone. After some time in the evening, in the late evening, suddenly you find the body is light as you have not taken food throughout the day. And the pangs of hunger has also gone. It's no more there. For the timing, it won't come back. And now your mind is really calm. You can resort to worship. So that's why penance, this tapo is also a type of penance, that you are renouncing your lower nature through certain sort of restrictions so that you can resort to your higher nature. So that is tapo yajna, yoga yajna, that is the controlling of the mind, chitta vritti nirodha, swadhyaya, this jnana yajnascha, this comprehension of the meaning of the Vedas through sravana, manana, nididhyasana. You read the scripture, try to cogitate the meaning, and then once you find the meaning, you become intellectually convinced about the truth about the scriptures. You start internalizing those values by contemplating on them, that is nididhyasana. So it takes you to the higher levels of spiritual realization. So this swadhyaya is also yajna, because it is also helping you to renounce your lower nature and get established in the higher nature. Give and receive. So that also swadhyaya, Sangshita Brata. They are all the aspirants whose vows are sincere and rigid. So they all are sincere. Don't think that someone is greater than the other. They all, as far as sincerity is concerned, they all are sincere. Through their yajnas, they are going to achieve the higher goals of life. So there's a 28th, a few more slokas are there which speaks of a few more type of yajnas, the 29th, 30th to the 33rd. We will again take up in the next class to just conclude this portion of the varied type of yajnas which has been spoken of by Bhagavan, Krishna, as a process of sublimating our lower nature to get established in our higher nature. And that way, the process of give and take is applicable here also. You renounce your lower nature to get established in your higher nature. So we will continue with the remaining slokas which do speak of the other forms of yajna again in the next class. So with this, we stop our discussion today.